MKBHD published a video talking about the Panels app and essentially apologizing for the way he rolled it out or released it. Now, he claimed that the rollout was a complete failure because he didn't explain anything, but I think the way that he announced the Panels app was also a failure because remember, it was just an intro ad to the iPhone 16. It wasn't a dedicated video. He didn't announce it. He didn't hype it up. And the way he rolled it out was simply just being a wallpapers app that was going to cost $50 a year. Now, during my live stream, I downloaded the app. I used the app for everything that I think it was for. It was meant to download wallpapers. I'm not someone who cares about purchasing wallpapers. I essentially use either my family or my kids as my wallpaper, which I think a lot of people do. And when he was saying that people asked him, where he gets his wallpapers from, I thought it was just like bots or something because I didn't know people actually care about other people's wallpapers. So the app does do exactly what he said initially, but the way he rolled it out was simply just being a wallpapers app where he could have actually talked about how it was like an artist marketplace where they upload their art and it's actually where he sources his art, and that probably hurt it the most. Now, he foot stomped on it primarily being like a mobile development on iOS or Android, which realistically he could have just had like a website marketplace for the initial rollout and then built on applications after. Because the main priority of this should have been the artists and how it's a platform for them to sell and commission their work. Now, there were 4 key things that he talked about in this video, and the first being price, where a lot of people were thankful that he cut the price essentially 80%, where I think now it's maybe $2 a month or something like $20 a year, which if you care about art, then I guess that might be in your ballpark or your range, because he broke it down where if you were to buy these individual packs, it could cost up to $100, and there's going to be more, art rolling out over the years. So it could be something that you may like if this is something that you want to purchase. And he talked about how this can be a complete free application where if you choose to watch the app to get the full resolution, which before you would get a standard copy for watching an ad, but now you'll get the full resolution copy, which I think is a win-win if you care about something like this. And the second was he addressed the privacy concerns because initially I think the app required a lot of permissions, but I'm not an app developer, and I think it's because the advertisements required, certain permissions that the dev team just enabled by default. So working on that and also removing the ads from the platform are going to be a good way going forward. But unfortunately in 2024, I just assume every app is spying on me, but that's just because I have common sense. Now, the third thing that he talked about was just the overall it being a bad app. Now, downloading it, using it, getting a wallpaper from it, it's essentially a wallpapers app. I don't know what people are expecting from it. I don't expect it to tie my shoes. I don't expect it to give me money. I saw that he was charging money for wallpapers. I don't care too much about wallpapers, but I still downloaded the application. I used it. It gave me wallpapers, but I'm not sure what caused the whole 1-star reviews on the app stores. But I think a lot of people that gave it the 1-star review on the app store simply just hated the product and that a content creator was charging so much for it. And that's sort of where the whole value, exchange comes into play, because what if initially this was just a free website or a free, app? People probably wouldn't have cared. And the last point he talked about was essentially the future or the way forward for this app. It's going to continuously roll out more, photos, work with more artists. But I think he should have just left the future out completely. There was no reason for him to do that. He could have just said what it's going to be and called it a day. Like if you were to say that, again, if this was an artist, marketplace and you can work with them for commissions, you can work for them for art, which includes wallpapers, backdrops. I use these for my phones. I use this for my computers. And that way he could just direct all of the people that were asking the questions to this website or to this app. He could have just left it alone, because now you're going to leave this future expectation that, goes to show that he's a tech reviewer. He knows that when people release a product and they talk about the future, you can only go on what's currently today. So having him talk about that, just causes extra issues. But overall, I think this was a good discussion. It wasn't an apology of the app. It just simply explained more things, which he should have just made a future video, or he should have just made a full video and not an intro ad discussing it, because it should have been a real rollout. But it wasn't a malicious intent, because there are creator products that, are bad for the consumers. This is just something that has like a sub niche audience, like a 0.001% of his audience is going to go for it, because most people, again, don't pay for wallpapers. But most of the hate is probably summed down to because this is MKBHD, because this is such a large content creator with such a design to it. I think he paid like $400,000 for a camera, for just simply a robot arm that's a camera in his studio. So you would expect more from him. You can't sort of use the whole like one-man design team, because that he sort of runs a company like LTT. He has like 20 people under him, fully staffed. So, those kind of rollouts sort of can't be sloppy. But but people sort of forget that he made those shoes. So, you know, it is what it is. Going forward, you're going to see more creators making products, and hopefully that the entire creator economy, you know, learns from this.